On a warm spring evening in 1519, the lakes of the Valley of Mexico reflected a sky painted in gold. Fishermen paddled across calm waters. Priests lit incense in towering temples. And in the great city of Tenochtitlan, the beating heart of the Aztec Empire, life moved with the rhythm of a world that believed itself eternal. Far out on the Gulf Coast, a small group of traders watched something impossible drifting across the water. Massive wooden structures, taller than houses, moving without paddles, with white wings catching the wind. They had never seen ships before. Word spread inland like wildfire. In Tenochtitlan, the Emperor Moctezuma II heard the rumours with unease. For years, priests had spoken of omens, of fires in the sky, of temples struck by lightning, of a mirror in which he saw armies approaching. Now, on distant shores, something had arrived. Not gods, not spirits, but invaders, bearing iron, gunpowder, and ambition. This is the story of the fall of the Aztec Empire, and the day the old world collided with the new. To understand what was lost, we must first understand what existed. Tenochtitlan was unlike anything in Europe. Built on a lake, it rose from the water like a dream. Floating gardens, canals, markets bustling with tens of thousands of people. Causeways connected the island to the mainland. Temples towered above the city, painted with brilliant colours and adorned with carvings of gods and warriors. Spanish explorers would later say, it was more beautiful than anything in Spain. The Aztec Empire itself stretched across central Mexico, a realm of tribute, alliances, rival kingdoms, and warrior orders, whose purpose was not only battle, but ritual. The Aztecs believed the universe survived only through balance, through sacrifice, offerings, and devotion to gods who demanded both life and loyalty. Their rituals, misunderstood by Europeans, were for them an act of cosmic duty. Without the blood of warriors, without the beating hearts offered atop temple steps, the sun would die and the world would end. This spiritual worldview shaped everything: war, politics, diplomacy. And it shaped how they would misunderstand the strangers arriving on their shores. The ships that appeared in 1519 belonged to Hernán Cortés, a Spanish conquistador whose hunger for power rivaled any emperor. He set foot on the coast with around 600 men, a handful of horses, 13 muskets, and steel armour shining in the sun. To the Aztecs, horses were monstrous creatures, men fused with animals. Guns sounded like thunder. Steel could slice through obsidian. To Cortés, these unfamiliar wonders of the New World meant only one thing: a chance to carve out an empire of his own. When some of his men thought of abandoning the mission, Cortés gave a legendary order. He burned his own ships. Retreat was no longer an option. There was no going back. The only way forward was through the Aztec Empire. Cortés' greatest advantage would not be his cannons or steel. It was a woman, a captured native woman named Malintzin, later known as La Malinche. Gifted to the Spanish as a slave, but possessing something priceless. She could speak both Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs, and Maya. Through her, Cortés gained the ability to negotiate, deceive, and manipulate tribes who had long suffered under Aztec rule. She became his translator, his diplomat, his advisor, and many would say the key to his conquest. Moctezuma, hearing of the strangers, sent precious gifts: gold, feathers, jewellery, as a gesture of diplomacy. But to Cortés, they were a sign of weakness, a sign that the empire he faced could be broken. The Aztecs had many enemies: subject peoples forced to pay heavy tribute, captured in war, and used in sacrificial rituals. The most important of these enemies were the Tlaxcalans, fierce warriors who had resisted Aztec domination for decades. They were the Spartans of Mesoamerica. But when Cortés arrived, something unexpected happened. The Tlaxcalans allied with the Spanish, not out of admiration, but desperation. They saw in the Europeans a weapon with which to finally break their Aztec rivals. This alliance would doom Tenochtitlan. After months of war, diplomacy, and strategy, Cortés and his men marched toward Tenochtitlan. Moctezuma chose not to attack. He welcomed Cortés into his city as a guest, offering him food, gifts, and hospitality. To the Spanish, this was submission. To Moctezuma, it was a diplomatic tradition, an attempt to understand these strange visitors. Cortés took it as an opportunity. He seized the emperor in his own palace. Moctezuma, once ruler of millions, was now a prisoner in his own city. While Cortés was away dealing with Spanish reinforcements, his lieutenant committed a horrifying act. During a religious festival, Spanish soldiers blocked the exits to a ceremonial courtyard and massacred the unarmed celebrants. This atrocity ignited the city. Tenochtitlan rose in rebellion. Stones and spears rained upon the palace. Moctezuma was struck by his own people and died shortly after, his death a symbol of the empire's unravelling. Cortés attempted to flee the enraged city under the cover of darkness, but the causeways were narrow, the canals deadly. Aztec warriors attacked from canoes, rooftops, and bridges. The Spaniards struggled under the weight of gold they tried to carry out of the city. Hundreds drowned. Hundreds more were captured and sacrificed. Cortés himself barely escaped. It was a devastating defeat, but the worst was still to come, not from swords, but from sickness. The Spaniards had unknowingly brought with them a killer more deadly than any cannon, smallpox. The disease ripped through the empire. Tenochtitlan, with its high population density, was devastated. Leaders died, priests died, warriors died. Entire families were wiped out. No one had immunity. While the Spanish regrouped with native allies, the Aztecs faced a nightmare they didn't understand. The empire was collapsing from the inside. In 1521, Cortés returned, not with a few hundred men, but with tens of thousands of native allies eager to break Aztec power forever. Cortés cut the causeways. He built brigantines to control the lake. He starved the city by blocking canals and destroying Chinampas. The floating gardens that fed the population Tenochtitlan, once the jewel of the Americas, became a battlefield of smoke, fire, and ruin. The defenders fought bravely. Every street became a trench, every rooftop a fortress. But the Spanish had steel, gunpowder, a navy, and the Aztec Empire had already been weakened beyond repair. Moctezuma's successor, Cuauhtémoc, was young, determined, and fearless. He knew he was fighting not for victory, but for survival. As the siege dragged on, famine consumed the city. Water ran out, bodies lay in the streets. The smell of death choked the air. Still, Cuauhtémoc refused to surrender. When he was finally captured trying to escape by canoe, he said, "I have done all I could for my city and my people, now do with me what you will." Tenochtitlan fell on August the 13th, 1521. The mighty empire of the Aztecs was no more. The Spanish built a new city atop the ruins of Tenochtitlan, what is today Mexico City. Temples were destroyed, churches erected, gold melted, art burned. But the story didn't end there. Aztec culture, language, and heritage survived. In traditions in families, in the Nahuatl language spoken by millions, and in the enduring memory of a civilization that once built a city of wonders on a lake. The fall of the Aztec Empire reshaped the world. It opened the door for European colonization of the Americas. It merged cultures, languages, foods, and religions into something new. It spread disease, catastrophe, and conquest, but also gave birth to modern Mexico. The old world had met the new, and neither would ever be the same. The fall of the Aztecs is not just a story of conquest, it is a story of misunderstanding, of alliances and betrayals, of bravery and tragedy, of two civilizations that viewed the world through entirely different eyes. When steel met obsidian, when gunpowder met ritual, when ambition met empire, a civilization that believed itself eternal came to an end. But its spirit endures, in its art, its descendants, and in the memory of the city that once rose from a lake, glittering like a dream. This was the fall of the Aztec Empire. That's it for today's video, but I want to know what you think. Which part surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.